Welcome to the Kids with Big Emotions podcast, formerly known as Calm Nights, Strong Days. I am your host, Andi Clark, and we are diving into episode 69, where we're going to talk about how much we love our neurodiverse kids. At the same time, we may be mourning as well the life that we imagined we would have. My hope in this episode is that you feel seen and heard, and you also accept that it's okay to have such mixed feelings, these feelings of love and adoration for our kids and who they have helped us become as people, as well as feel sad and feel a loss and be frustrated at times with the life that we do have with having a neurodiverse child. And if any of you during this episode are feeling like you really need to connect, I do have 30-minute calls. This is so not a sales pitch. It really is to connect. My goal is for you as parents. I've just heard so many parents recently talk about how alone they feel and that they feel like they're the only ones that have kids like theirs and that they're struggling, that I will hop on a call with any of you and chat about this and help you see and feel and know that you are not alone. I also have a Facebook group that you are more than welcome to join with other parents who have neurodiverse kids, kids with big emotions, and understand what your life is like. So join us if you find that anything in this episode is resonating with you and you're feeling alone and don't have resources, or you want to add a few more. So let's dive in. It's been a really interesting week in our family. Last night, my husband and I were at a wedding, and it was a wedding without kids. And our kids, for the very first time, actually went to our in-laws. Now, my kids are 11 and 12, almost 13. And it's because of the 11-year-old that we don't go a lot of places alone without him. And we don't do a lot of things outside of the house because he can't handle it, because he hasn't been ready up until now to even go somewhere. And I am so proud of him. He did amazing. And it just shows how far all of the work we have been putting in has come, and that he went without complaining. He went without anxiety. He went without fear. He went without understanding and knowing everything that was going to happen, what the bed was going to be like, what the sheets and blankets will be like, what the bedtime routine would be like. There's so many unknowns for him, what they would do there, and he went without anger, without frustration, without anxiety. And he went and he did it. And I am so super proud of him for that. They were both messaging us this morning, when are you coming to get us? Because my younger one was starting to struggle. But the fact that he actually did that was amazing and allowed my husband and I as well to really enjoy our time. While we were there, the bride and groom have a 2-year-old. They actually got married 4 years ago during COVID, but they had booked this banquet hall. So they had a really huge celebration with everybody, and their 2-year-old child was there. And it was unbelievable watching their child. Their child was a part of the wedding party. He was happy. He was smiling. He went into anybody's arms. He was around everybody the whole night. Like, the bride and groom had him in moments, but anybody that swept in to help them, to entertain him, he didn't even fully need to be entertained. He was just happy staring at people. When the music came, he wanted to be dancing. he was in it. He was yawning and tired, but was like, I'm not tapping out. This is fun. He wasn't crying. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't doing anything. He was just pushing it to be a part of the party still. And I looked at my husband and I was like, this is what I thought our life was going to be. I thought that when we had kids, we'd be able to, no, we're not huge partiers, but we would be able to bring our kids everywhere we went. If we're playing volleyball, if we're, going and seeing friends, if we're going out and about, and the kids would be okay with that. And they would mesh with the other kids anywhere that we did go, that they would, you know, they would add to the things that we were doing. And what happened instead was we have a child that doesn't like change, doesn't like transitions, that both of our kids hear things at a crazy rate. They take in visually things at a crazy rate. The one is a lot more heightened, but going into big crowds, things with big people, they get stimulated very quick. Now, the one, I can just give him a book, he'll go in a corner, he'll be fine. The other one, though, it's anxiety, it's anger, it's overwhelm, can't function, that we've had to be very cautious of what we do, how often we do it, where we go. And we were sitting beside somebody else, and I said that to them. They were there, and it's interesting because we'd sat beside them for hours. We knew them. My husband had gone to high school with the bride and the one girl that we were sitting with. And it was so fascinating because we had talked about everything. We kind of talked about our kids, but none of us mentioned the neurodiversities. And it's one thing that a lot of people don't get. But I did say something to her. I'm like, wow, I am so impressed by him. I'm like, my kid would not have handled being here at all. And she said, mine either. She said, my 9-year-old, she said, my 4-year-old's good and chill. My 9-year-old, she goes, anxiety, would have been stressing over not knowing what was going to happen in the change. She goes, she's struggling already at home because I'm not there and my mom's there. And even though she's still in our house, the routine's going to be different, that I bet she will still be up waiting for me when I get home because she's worried about me and her anxiety will just be out of hand. And I'm like, our kids too. I'm like, I'm amazed that I'm like, this is the first time our kids have even gone to the in-laws to stay. And it's just, it was amazing. Like, I'm like, our life is so different. And she said, yeah, it was too late in the night. The music was too loud. Like, we couldn't dive into this big conversation, but I was like, wow, this is somebody else that gets it. And I was like, I need to do a podcast episode on this tomorrow because there's so many other people that, I grew up where my parents curled a lot and curling bonspiels, we'd be there all the time. My mom would drag us to the curling rink and she would play games and we would play on the other side of the glass. And the bartender or whoever was at the curling club in the main area would just like watch us whenever they'd have bonspiels and parties. I remember falling asleep under tables. And there's no way I could do that with my kid. And then there's other things where like our neighbors are all playing outside, they're all gathering around, and my one son will get a book, science book, and go sit on the front steps. The other one will watch from the window inside. There's a part of him that really wants to go out and play, but he's worried he'll make a mistake. He's worried that if they're playing basketball, that he'll miss a basket, which everybody is. Even the professionals miss baskets. The perfectionism is so huge, and the way that he expects himself to perform all of the time has him struggling to hang out with kids as well. Sometimes, they're loud. Sometimes they joke around and he takes those jokes personally. There's so many different things that, just affect us. I'm not sure if they're doing it this year, but last year they did a street party where they actually blocked off our street. They had a band and we had to leave for the day because we could even hear the speakers of the band and stuff playing or the music playing throughout the day in our house. And like our neighbors loved it, but it was too loud, too much stimulation, too much noise all day for my kids. And they didn't have that safe space of the home to be in. And then we're looking at our vacation this week. My husband had vacation And we're like, okay, what do you guys want to do? You know, do you want to go to Wildwater Kingdom, the water park slide? Do you want to go to Canada's Wonderland, which is like, oh, what is it? Five Flags, Magic Mountain, something like that, like a big amusement park. Do you guys want to go like to the beach? What do you want to do? Like, no, we just want to, you know, I've been getting them a lot of books from the library recently that they're loving, and they're really enjoying downtime and recuperating, quietly reading books, hanging out with their friends. They want to just have friends over. They want to go swimming in the afternoons, and just be very, very chill. And my husband and I, like, it's been interesting because you're like, well, you're on vacation. You should be doing stuff, right? Everybody's going places. Everybody's doing things. Why shouldn't we? But it's been interesting to see how my husband and I have come so far, because we've realized that our kids actually know what they want and need at certain times. And there are times where they will choose to say, hey, I do want to do water park. My oldest does want to go to Great Wolf Lodge for his birthday. Just the four of us. He doesn't want a big thing with friends. He wants it just the four of us. Great Wolf Lodge, where he knows what's going to happen, and the water slides all day. So sometimes they'll do those things, but they know when they also need more time for their bodies to recuperate, for their bodies to recover. And I think we're just so used to this world of being like, go, go, go all the time, where we're really pushing and, you know, getting our kids signed up for, like, I do. There's times where I feel like my kids are going to be so behind. They're not in music lessons. They're not like in all these sports and all of these extracurricular activities. But I realize that it's too much stimulation to have too many of those too frequently, that they can't handle it. My older can more, and he has swimming lessons right now. He's doing some camps this summer. He's got a curling camp. It's a skills camp for his competitive curling team. And he's doing one overnight camp one week, and he did a half-day baseball camp. But a half day was enough for him. Even with that baseball camp, there was so much that he was taking in, learning skills, new people, new environment, new schedules, that half day he came home and just needed to downregulate completely. And I have to stop and think that, okay, these are the skills I've been teaching these kids since they were born. This is what I teach. This is, I mean, why I got into all the training of stress systems that start to become a sleep and stress coach, was because of my son's stress system, not realizing mine was taxed too. But it was fascinating. Just like getting into all of this. I got into the stress because of him. I got into traumas because of working with first responders. And I was like, oh, I need to learn about all these different therapists in order to help them once they build a rapport with me on the stress systems, to help them with the therapies. And I realized I needed therapy, and I'm realizing everybody needs therapy. And then I started diving into learning IFS therapy through that. And then studying neurodiverse kids, and all the executive functioning I'm studying right now is because of the neurodiversities, is because of my kids. And I've been teaching them this stuff that is sometimes where I stop and I have to take the step back and think, oh, they're actually implementing things that I have taught them, that their nervous system needs, that they need to stay regulated, to stay calm, to stay engaged, to stay happy, to stay balanced, to not be in anxiety, to not be in an anger or a frustration or a hyped up state. They're actually giving their bodies what they need, but that requires our life to be very different. And I'm going to tell you, it takes time to mourn. I know I have a girlfriend that when she first had her kids, she said, I needed time to mourn my old life. And at first I thought this was negative to her new life. And then I realized it's not. She loves her kids to death. Her kids are her life. And she wouldn't change anything for the stage of life that she's in. But we do have to mourn our old life. And I believe that when we have neurodiverse kids that are different, that don't fit into the mold, that are different, we kind of have to mourn a little bit of the life that we thought we'd have with kids, of things we thought we'd be able to do with kids, and instead start looking through this different lens. Like, oh my gosh, the person who I am now is not at all who I would be had I not had my neurodiverse kid. I would be judging other parents when I'd see a kid have an outburst or anxiety, not wanting to participate in something, or seeing a kid like yelling and screaming in public, and, you know, the parent not reprimanding them right away for it, and instead being kind, caring, and curious with this child and compassionate in order to bring them down and meet their stress system with a calm nervous system, which is what that child needs. But I would have judged that. I would have so judged it. I would have judged so much of what people were doing with their kids. I wouldn't have understood nervous systems. I wouldn't have understood all the different ways of learning, which has taught me so much about how my brain learns, about traumas, about the things that I am learning through my kids to be more kind, caring, compassionate to others. I would not have learned had I not had a child that challenged me with my beliefs, that challenged me with my ideals, that challenged me with the box I was living in. And that's so crazy to say because I'm somebody who hates living in a box. But I kind of had a box built of what my family with kids would look like. And it's very different from what I thought it would look like. Very different. And I love it. I love how much time my kids want to spend with us. And I am super proud of the moments now when I'm seeing both my husband and I learning different parenting styles and different ways to parent our kids that keep them out of the heightened states, that don't have them yelling and, you know, feeling like I'm combating them all the time, that we actually have a really good understanding and a better communication than I ever would have had before this child. Now, if you are sitting here and you're thinking, but I don't have that. I don't have that calmness with my child. They are in an anxiety state all the time. I'm going to first tell you that my kids are still sometimes. Absolutely. It's less and less. We're able to get them out of it quicker. But this doesn't mean that we are going and doing all of the things that I dreamed about doing all the time on vacations. I mean, my husband got to clean out the basement on vacation. He got the cars all done. He actually got a lot of his to-do list done this week on vacation, and a lot of downtime and rest time, which he needed, and helped with so much around the house while the kids were busy with their friends or busy reading their books. And then we did get some time with them. But it looks so different. And if you're not there yet, if your kids are in this huge emotional state where it's huge anxiety or it's anger all the time, where you're having yelling matches with them, where there's frustration all the time, where you don't feel like you know how to communicate with your child, know that I see you. Know that I understand and feel exactly what you're feeling. And know that I've been there. I've absolutely been there. And I want you to know that there's a way out, that there are ways that you can learn to start staying calm. And in what I'm going to start talking about is your dolphin brain. You can stay calm in your dolphin brain while your child is either in a shark brain, where they're like, you know, surveying the area, really watching the area, like in that predator mode. Or they're like Marlin, Nemo's dad, the clownfish, Nemo's dad, who's in this anxiety state, not wanting to try new things, not wanting change, not wanting transitions. I want you to just stop and take a deep breath now and know that we can help get your kids from that into their dolphin brain, where they're wanting to play, where they're wanting to be around other people, where they can converse, where they still have their personality and are there still maybe their little quirky neurodiverse self, which is so cool, in a calmer way. And you can be calmer with them even when they are dysregulated, when they are out of sorts, when they're in their shark brain or where they're in their marlin brain. And then there's also actually another one, which is like their turtle brain, where they're in their shell, closed off, not wanting to speak, not wanting to do anything. These are all these different brains of when kids are in these heightened states of stress. And I can help you. So what we're going to be diving into in this podcast is all the different things that can stress out our kids. I go back episodes, that's what I've talked about. We're going to be diving into getting you into that dolphin brain more, helping you understand more of your child and what's going on with them. The step, though, is that you're here and that you're already listening to this and you're already realizing that there is more out there, that your child doesn't have to be in this heightened state of anxiety, this heightened state of like in this predator state, in this shark state, where they're just, eyes on everything, worried about what's going to happen next, heightened state, ready to attack. And you don't have to be in that either, because the odds are if they're in those states, you're in those states too. And we're here to help you. So if you don't know how to get out of there, keep listening to this podcast. I'm going to get more information out there. If you really need somebody to talk to, just book a 30-minute call with me. I've got them down in the notes below. They're literally where we will talk. We will talk about your child. We'll talk about where you're going through. We'll talk about your emotions. We'll talk about how it is 100% valid to love your child and also hate how tough it is and mourn that your life is not how you planned it to be, that it's different, that life is different than you imagined. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about in those 30 minutes. I'm here to help you. I can answer questions. If you want to know, how do I do this? I can help you. Use those 30 minutes however you want. Hop on a call with me, book a call. The link is in the notes below. Join our group, our Facebook group. That's where there's other parents just like you, experiencing the same things as you. Join that group, and we're going to start teaching you different ways to get there so that you can go and enjoy weddings and know that your kids are going to be okay. You can start doing things as a family and know that, eventually getting to where the outbursts are less and your kids are calmer, you're calmer, and in, a state where you find what works, that balance that works for you and your kids. You may also have a kid that is highly engaged. I have a friend like this with her child who is highly engaged, highly social, needs to be out with people all the time, but the downtime is the hard part for them. And that's nervous system regulation stuff as well. So we can dive into all of that. Let me know what you need. I'm speaking to a screen right now, which is tough. So please book that call so I actually know what you're getting value out of this. I can learn your kids and they can learn what more I can be talking to, so they don't feel like I'm talking to a screen. So I feel like I can be talking to you as people, as parents of these amazing neurodiverse kids. And yeah, I'm excited for everything that's going to come in this podcast. And I will see you in the next episode.